Welcome to Story Chats at Inspy Romance. I'm Elizabeth Maddrey, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Narelle Atkins.
I'm Valerie Comer.
And today we are actually talking about my latest release.
Yay!
So I'm on the hot seat, so I'm going to just turn that over. I don't know which of you decided they were going to take over, but somebody needs to.
Apparently, because your voice disappeared there for a sentence or two. So let's hope that doesn't happen again. Or maybe that's your way of getting out of difficult questions that we might ask.
Uh-oh, you're on to me. You're on to me.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what the view is like from the director's chair. Cooney is not going to last long here. She was already giving me the stinky cat eye here a minute ago. But you guys all know how these interviews go. Now, Narelle and I have both read The Billionaire's Backup. I have read it twice because I got to read it as a beta reader a couple months ago, 2, 3, I don't know, a while back. And then I reread it this past week so that it would be fresh in my mind and to think about it differently, think about it more as a reader than as a picky person looking for typos. Anyway, so you guys all know how this goes. So Beth, over to you. Tell us about The Billionaire's Backup.
So The Billionaire's Backup is book 4 in the Billionaire Next Door series. And this is the story of Noah and Jenna. And I don't know how much information to give. Hopefully you guys know the series. If not, it's not necessary, probably.
Or just tell us a bit about the trope and how they know each other.
So Noah and Jenna were friends and dated briefly in college. And they made sort of a ha-ha, if we're both single at 33, we'll just get married kind of thing. So Love Pact, I think, is technically what that's called, but it's sort of a stupid name. But, oh well. But so it's friends to more. It's got their little college love pact that neither of them took seriously, or did they? She is an architect and she enjoys doing renovation on the side. And he bought this historic home in a previous book that was sort of half renovated and actually was sold because the people who owned it ran out of money to do the renovation that needed to happen. So she is going to fix that up for him, and he's excited about the prospect of having to spend more time with her while she does that. And there you go. The rest is history.
Well, not quite history. So you know that I have always loved your guys. And this has always been, it might be the very first thing that drew me to your writing was your groups of guy friends. I love how they interact with each other, and I'm thankful that you continue to write groups of guy friends. So this group of 6 friends is just as entertaining to me as any previous ones. And the whole premise of the Billionaire Next Door series circles around these 6 guys. Tell us a bit about the series and whether or not we can expect there might be a billionaire living next door to us.
You never know, but probably not. So these guys they were friends. Most of them were friends from college. And then they pulled other guys in as they did. So now there are 6 of them, because I needed 6 because I like to write in 6 book series.
Me too.
Scott got this sort of crazy idea from some social media that he would read about a stock market thing that some people were doing, and how some guys had really made a lot of money, and he worked out the math and was like, if we all went in together, then we could end up with a little more than $2 billion each if everything went exactly perfectly. And even if it's not perfect, it'd still be a lot of money. So after initial not being serious about it, they're like, all right, well, let's give it a whirl. So they did, and it's fiction land. So of course it worked perfectly.
Of course.
And so now they are the Billionaire Next Door, whereas they had all been early 30s, fairly settled in their career, just friends doing what they do. And now they're trying to just sort of figure out life as billionaires.
All right.
I think it's over to me now. I love this series. It's so fun, and I enjoyed reading the book as well. And so my question is, let's talk about Mitch. Okay. And anyone who knows this podcast and knows Elizabeth Maddrey's writing will know that we are not talking about a love triangle.
No.
And Mitch is not a candidate to be competing for her attentions as a future husband by any stretch of the imagination. And I just wanted to talk a bit about Mitch. And at the beginning of the story, because stuff happens in the story, we don't want to just give any spoilers away. So let's go back to the very beginning of the story, and potentially into the last book. What's going on with Jenna, and why is she hanging out with Mitch? Particularly when, I mean, one of the things that really struck me about him was that she calls it a situationship, which is interesting. So we can unpack what a situationship is. But he also tries to get her drunk so that he can somehow sneak into her bedroom, is the impression I got from that. And I absolutely detest people, and I'll say people, doesn't matter if it's male or female, that get people drunk for that reason. Like that's a real sort of, I get very grumpy when I read characters like that don't get their just desserts. So let's talk about Mitch and how he fits into Jenna's life, and because it really sets up a lot of stuff that happens in the story.
So in the previous books, Jenna and Noah have this sort of like, and it sort of stems from the whole love pact idea too, is like, if you need a date for this thing and you can't find somebody, or you don't want to take someone and give them, like, there's a movie where it's like, you can't have a date on New Year's Eve if you haven't been dating X number of years. And I don't remember what movie it is, because it sets expectations, right? So if you're in this, like, a new relationship and you don't want to take your girlfriend, I'll be like your backup date. So they have this backup date thing going, but it's not a relationship. They just hang out. So Jenna has been sort of dating Mitch in the same sort of setup. And it's he sort of pursued her because he liked how they looked together. He's very shallow and superficial. He is designed to make you not like him. If you like Mitch, we should talk.
Is that not the truth? If you like Mitch, this is not the book for you to read.
No. So he's very superficial, and he just really liked the fact that Jenna's 6'3", 6'4". She's in there. She's very tall. And he liked how they looked together. He wouldn't have minded if she was a little shorter so that he could be a little taller, but because then he thinks it would look even better. And she likes the attention to some degree, but she feels sort of bad that she likes the attention, because I think deep down she's always known that he's not the right kind of person, but he's fun and he likes to do splashy things, and he is always very complimentary to her. So since that's not something she's used to getting, she appreciates it and isn't sure that she wants to let go of it. And she doesn't have anything better in the offing right now anyway, so she might as well, kind of thing.
Except she does. She has
She
no, I mean, what?
She doesn't know that.
I think what I loved about how Mitch's role in the story is he does get his just desserts, so that's all sorted. We don't have to worry about that. But he really made Noah look good by comparison. I mean, because Mitch is the one.
Noah would have looked good anyways, right? I mean, he's our hero.
But I mean, Noah looked fabulous compared to Mitch, like seriously fabulous. And I mean, Mitch is the one who's acting like the spoiled playboy billionaire, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know if that was intentional, but I really appreciated that as a reader.
A little, yeah.
Yeah. And Noah was like steady as you go. I thought he was adorable. And he'd also, interestingly, where you've got on the one hand, you've got Mitch trying to get a drunk if he has any opportunity. On the other hand, you've got Noah who's like, well, I'm walking to your place to visit you because, there's no way in the world if I had even a sip of wine that I would drive a motor vehicle. Yeah. And I just love that about him. Like his mother had taught him the right way to do things, and I was very, very happy. So I was a big Team Noah fan from the get-go.
Yay. Part of why Mitch is the way he is from the get-go is also because I don't love triangles. And so I didn't want anyone to get the idea that there might be one. No. If it's by me, it is I've tried twice to try and have a love triangle, and I just can't do it because I don't like it at all.
We've talked about it before. We even did an episode, didn't we?
On love triangles, yeah.
Yeah. So so it's no surprise to anybody to know, and they're super duper hard to write, especially for those of us who write in dual point of view. If we're writing the hero and the heroine, then what do? Do we write both heroes?
Right.
One of which isn't really a hero? Or do we just go with the female point of view, or just the male point of view if the love triangle goes the other direction?
Right.
So sometimes just the choice of which guy we're writing or which girl is like, oh, well, we know where this is going.
Right.
And can I say how thankful I am that we don't go into Mitch's head in this book?
There's nothing there.
I know. It's a very
it is
scary place.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's over to Valerie.
It was fun seeing Jana in the role of construction and renovation expert. So it just flips the typical on its head. And you have done this before. You've had in the Peacock Hill series. So Jana is the hands-on one, and Noah really isn't. There's a few times when he says, I can paint a wall, but that's really about the extent of it. So he's got a designer, because that's not Jana. And so they kind of are all working together on this project. So tell us a bit about Jana, about her side gig, why she needs a side gig, and her nomadic life. What went into her lifestyle and career choices? Unpack Jana.
Well, part one of that is that I'm a pantser. So sometimes they just evolve that way. In my writing, it's about the only place Darwin has any, leg to stand on when it comes to that. But she is an architect, so she has degrees and she has formal training and she has a steady job, but she has also just sort of itchy feet. As much as she enjoys the architecture aspect of things, she likes the construction aspect too. And just the whole picture going from A to Z, as opposed to the design's done and then you hand it off and you move on to the next, which is what most of her corporate life is. She's a lot less involved. Right. So she has the side gig because she enjoys that other aspect of it, but probably not to the point where she would want to do it for a living only.
Like start her own business.
Yeah, it's not super profitable the way that she wants to do it. So that's part of it. She does flip houses here and there. She was looking at this house before Noah bought it.
Right.
But there was no way she could have afforded it. So that, but she's been wanting to do a historic home for quite a while. So she's excited about this option as well. Did I miss the question? I feel like I missed the question. I mean, she's nomadic in that she doesn't have a permanent home of her own, because her dream is to find something historic and wonderful and renovate it and then live there. But it's a dream versus cash conflict that she keeps running into. So when she doesn't have a project that she's living in or flipping, she rents a room in a friend's house.
And it's really sad. Like, I mean, I was reading her book and thinking, she's like, I've got $1 million and I could buy something for $1 million. I'm thinking, if DC is anything like Sydney or Melbourne or all these places in Australia, $1 million is not going to get you a house in a lot of the good parts of the city. Like, It's just really scary, I think, how $1 million just doesn't stretch far enough anymore. Even for someone who's an architect, having trouble to buy property, I think is a very real I think that's very relatable as well.
I think so
Yeah.
too, in that, especially in that 30 something range, where it's just hard to get started anywhere.
Yeah.
So, and
It is hard.
she could get something, you know, normal in a normal little neighborhood with, you know, 0.2 acres in your house in the middle of it and just enough yard that you could have a dog, but she doesn't want that. She wants something with character.
Yeah, and that's like her, but that makes perfect sense to me. So let's move on to Noah, since we haven't really talked about him yet. And the Married by 33 marriage pact. So we've talked a lot about Jenna and sort of where she sits, but let's talk about where Noah sits with relationships, his background, and why he hasn't forgotten this casual in college when we briefly dated, let's get married at 33 thing.
So Noah, I think, is sort of driven by this idea that he should be doing more than he is in all of his life. And so he's kind of coasting right now. Hold on one second, I'm sorry. He's coasting
and coasting,
sorry.
And cruising.
And, you know, so he has this job and he likes it because he does work for a nonprofit. And so he is helping people. But even then, he feels like, you know, he sits in the major office of the nonprofit and pushes paper effectively. He's not actually doing things to help people. So he feels like, especially now with all the money, he ought to be doing more. And the same sort of comes from his dating life, or lack thereof, as well. One factor of that is he was much more serious about Jenna than she was with him. But he also, you know, you got to be kind of cool, right? And so he doesn't want to be the one to say anything, and so he acts like, yeah, that was stupid, but inside he's like, or was it?
Right.
And so that has also kept him from really looking around, because in his mind, he wants Jenna and he just has to sort of wait out the clock and possibly work up the nerve to do something about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's, Noah's just kind of in limbo and trying to figure out what he's supposed to be doing in almost every aspect of his life.
Yeah. And you can see that with all the guy group interactions as well, that it's really interesting watching this series, how that the relationships in that group have changed.
Yeah.
I found that very intriguing.
As the guys drop out and get married.
Right.
Yeah. And how that changes things. Because I mean, I think we see that a lot with female friendship groups in CCR. You'll watch those changes, but not necessarily so much in the guy group. So I thought that was very interesting. So do we still have some time? How are we doing for time?
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay, so let's talk about Old Town, which is the setting in the series. So I've never been to DC, but I really want to visit Old Town because it sounds really fascinating and like a really interesting sort of neighborhood and a sort of like a little slice of something nice in the middle of the city. So if you'd like to give us a bit of background, and we can go into other books in the series as well with this question.
So Old Town Alexandria is across the river from DC. It's in Virginia. And it has some parts of it that still have the original cobblestone streets.
Oh, wow.
It's got a lot of houses, townhomes from the 17 and 1800s still there that people live in today. The new construction, they do have some new construction where they've totally torn down if it was ramshackle, but generally new construction is maybe from the 40s or 50s. So so it's an older, kind of has some cachet to it because it's right on the Potomac River. So it's a fascinating dichotomy, because there's the snooty part of Old Town, but then Alexandria itself that surrounds Old Town has some like desperately not wealthy sections. Like the school where Austin and Kayla worked is one of the poorest schools in the area. And it's one that is generally rife with a whole lot of gang activity. And it's just not a great part of town. So you get the mixture then of the classes with very little in between. Because if you can afford to live in Old Town, then you're up there. And if you can't, then you're not. But Old Town, it draws a lot of tourists because there are historic homes that you can tour. There is the Gadsby's Tavern, which was a tavern in the days when George Washington was around, and so he ate there. And they serve traditional colonial fare on their menu, like peanut soup and all kinds of fun.
Steak and kidney pie.
Well, no,
Not British.
not British, but that same sort of spoon bread and all of the. So if you don't want to make the trip down to Colonial Williamsburg, you can get little tastes of it here and there in Old Town. But it's brick and cobblestone, and then some like hip shopping and restaurants and bar areas, and then these gorgeous waterfront homes. It's just a nice place to go. It's like a date night location.
And it sounds like they have some amazing restaurants.
They do. Yeah.
Just watching these people order in from here and there and everywhere, I'm like, boy, my rural small town pickings are mighty slim, which is probably why we don't eat out a whole lot.
I can see that. Yeah, no, the restaurants in Old Town, most of the ones that I use in my books, if they're not truly a real restaurant, like Ada's is a real restaurant where Austin and Kayla went a lot in book 2, they're loosely based on a real restaurant that it is either still there or was there, but COVID killed a lot of the really fun restaurants. They're coming back now, but it had a little bit of a hiccup.
No, it's fascinating. The bookstore that they have as well in the series is fun too. I like the bookstore.
Yeah, there's a lot of components that carry through from book to book in the series. The guys' poker night, the girls getting together at the bookstore. And so there's a lot of interaction between previous characters and the current ones, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But don't let that stop you, friends, from jumping in. On this one, if the premise just sounds really fun and you haven't read the previous ones, I can almost but not quite guarantee that if you read this one, you're going to want to go back to the first one, which is fine. But you can also enjoy this one and just get the feel of the comfort of knowing that there's, a surrounding of this story in other ones. So don't let it stop you from jumping in here, but I kind of figure you're probably going to want to go back and loop back to the beginning. Either way, but whatever you choose, so kind of know that. Narelle, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about today, or we can?
Well, I just have one comment for the Aussies. So there's a particular scene in this book where Noah ends up wearing budgie smugglers. And when I say that, the Aussies are going to be there going, huh? How does that fit into a CCR? And so he ends up having to do something related to diving. And underneath the wetsuit, he has to wear fabric that is tight fitting and all the rest of it. And that's what is known as a budgie smuggler in Australia.
Budgie smuggler. Oh my word. All right then, you heard it here
that's
first for those of us not Aussie.
He does put a wetsuit on over, so he's not parading around.
No, he's not parading around, whatever. But I did have a bit of a giggle. Yeah. I had a bit of a giggle when I read that because I thought, man, I understand why you're so uncomfortable. And every Aussie that reads this book is going to be laughing. Yeah. But no, definitely the story stands alone. So definitely read this one. If you can read all of them, that's always the best way to go. And if you can read in order, I think that's also helpful with this series too.
What did you say?
Right.
I said it. I'll say it again. If you can read in order, I think it's helpful with this series because there are things that unpack in a certain way, particularly with the dynamics of the the girls, the way the girls are being the way the friendship circle works with the girls and the guys, there are things that unpack a certain way. So I would say read this one in order as opposed to jumping around.
I just can't even believe you said that.
I do say that sometimes.
You've just kind of taken away whatever I was going to say next is gone because I'm just gobsmacked over here.
No, well, there are some series that really stand alone. So, I mean, there are some series that really are like where it's like there are some series where some authors will write a series set in Old Town, and Old Town is the connector in the series.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas there's a lot of people connections, and when you've got people connections and things unfold in certain ways, sometimes it can be better to read those ones in order if you have a choice.
I would agree with this one in particular, although I think you'd be okay, but I think you will understand Jenna better if you at least understand from, like, she's the newcomer to the girls group, and that does factor into some
book,
of
one book back from one book back, maybe I can't remember.
She's around in book 2.
In book 2 too.
Yeah, but she's still sort of the newcomer, at least in her mind. She's still waiting and testing it out. So so that definitely influences how she reacts in some situations to the other girls who don't see her as a newcomer. Yeah. Right.
Okay, so people forget that I said that bit about reading this as a standalone, because if Narelle says it has to be read in order, then I'm sorry, but we're going to have to go with reading in order. And if you read in Kindle Unlimited, I know you can grab them there, at least for the time being. So you want to do that. Beth, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and where our listeners and fans can find you?
So I am on Facebook, ElizabethMaddrey.com. I know, shocking. Everybody's on Facebook, although not anymore, really. But my website is ElizabethMaddrey.com. It has all the other stuff. Mostly Facebook and Instagram are the social media that I pay someone to post things on.
All right, then.
But I do interact, but I am so bad at making graphics that I finally just bit the bullet, and I'm like, I need help here. So I now hire those out.
We all need to admit when we need help.
Yes. It's the same reason I stopped designing my own covers. It's that same lack of ability to design anything. And I think that's me.
And what's up next? What's up next in the series?
Next is Wes's book. It is The Billionaire's Teacher. Wes he quit his corporate job and opened a scuba shop. And so in his book, he has gone to the Caribbean to make a sort of tour of all the dive sites that he wants to run trips to. And so we've got forced proximity on the yacht that he hired with the boat driver, female yacht driver. So forced proximity as they go through the islands. There will be a natural disaster resulting in some stranding together also. So
I'm there.
Poor them.
I know. She is a good 10 years older than him. So there's some age gap going on there as well. So I'm enjoying writing that. I'm about an eighth of the way in. I should be a lot further than I am, but life. But my goal is late August, early September for that. We'll see what happens, but that's my goal.
Cool. Excellent.
I can't wait. Sounds fun.
Sounds like a good time to take a tropical vacation.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Beth, and let you outro us, because I'm sure that I will say it 89 ways wrong if I go for it, because you're the pro. So
All right.
Unless there's anything Narelle wanted to add before we go that way.
No, just go buy and read this book. It's fun.
Okay, well, we could have done this whole episode in like 2 minutes, but this is more fun.
Just go read it.
Just go read it. Take our word for it.
And pre-order the next one. I can't wait to go to the well, you say the Caribbean, we say the Caribbean, so there's a bit of a difference there, but that's okay. As long as there's cricket, I'll go watch the cricket there, and then I'm happy.
There you go.
This is the same. However you pronounce it.
However you pronounce it. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. We would love to know what you have to say. If you have any thoughts, questions, or comments, I'll be around to answer the comments because I'm there anyway. So if you have a question, hit me up. I'm happy to answer them. We look forward to seeing you again next week. If you are over on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And in the meantime, don't forget to fall in love with a good book. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.